The Cyric Empire was burning. Commander Vrilok stood inside the command chamber of the warship Talon's Claw, watching enemy ships fill the screen. Red warning lights flashed. Fires broke out on the lower decks. Sparks flew from the broken control panels. The enemy unknown, silent and ruthless, was tearing through their defenses like they were made of paper. "This is madness," Vrilok growled, his 4 eyes locked on the display. "Where are our reinforcements?" "None are coming, Commander," his second officer said, voice shaking. "All other fleets are either destroyed or retreating. We are alone." Outside the ship, the sky glowed with fire. Ships exploded one after another. The Cyric fleet, once feared across the stars, was being wiped out in hours. Vrelok's claws clenched into fists. "Activate the ancient beacon," he said. The room went silent. "Sir?" "That beacon hasn't been touched in centuries." "One." Technician warmed. "We don't even know if it works." "Do it," Vrilok ordered. "We have no choice." The technician entered the code. A deep hum filled the ship. Hidden beneath the control room, inside the heart of the Talon's Claw, an ancient wormhole device came to life. It had only one purpose: call for help. But not just any help. It called something ... older. Something ... lost. The signal pulsed through subspace. Across dead systems, across old battlefields, across ancient stars. It echoed. It didn't ask for help. It demanded it. And then the wormhole opened. At first, it was just a swirl of blue energy, a glowing tunnel between galaxies. But then the Cyric crew stared in horror as something began to come through. Massive, black, silent. It moved slowly, like a giant shadow sliding through space. It had no markings, no lights, no sound. It looked like a mountain of metal, shaped like a blade. "What ... is that?" Vrilok whispered. The technician scanned it. No results. The ship was too advanced, too different. It was like nothing the Cyric had ever seen. Even their best systems couldn't understand it. "It's not one of ours," an officer said. "And not one of theirs either," another replied, pointing at the enemy fleet, which had suddenly stopped moving. For the first time, the enemy ships turned and ran. Inside the control room, tension turned into confusion. Why were the attackers retreating? What had scared them so badly? Suddenly, a voice echoed through every Cyric channel. It was calm, deep, and mechanical, but somehow ... "Human, this is Terran Command Vessel Dreadnought 1. You sent a call." We answered. The entire bridge froze. "Terran? Humans? The primitive race from the edge of the galaxy? The ones who had vanished centuries ago? No ... "It can't be," Vrilok said. The signal repeated. "Your signal was received? This system is now under Terran protection. Stand by." Without another word, the massive black ship began to move. Slowly at first, then faster. It glided toward the enemy like death itself, and then it opened fire, but not like the Cyric, not with missiles or lasers. It used beams of white-hot energy that tore space apart. Whole enemy ships exploded in seconds, cut in half, or turned to dust. The Cyric watched in silence. One ship, one Terran ship, destroying an entire enemy fleet alone. 5 minutes later, it was over. The enemy fleet was gone. The space around the wormhole was quiet, and the Terran ship remained dark, silent, floating like a god watching from above. Commander. Vrilok could not speak. No one could. For the first time in Cyric history, they had called for help. And something worse had answered. The battlefield was quiet. Too quiet. Not even wreckage moved. The enemy fleet was gone, vaporized, shredded, or running into deep space. Only one ship remained in the center of it all. Black, sharp, silent, the Terran vessel. Dreadnought 1, hung like a blade frozen in space. Commander Vlock stared at it from the Talon's claw, his face pale with fear. "It's just sitting there," whispered Officer Keln, his voice barely above a breath. "Why isn't it moving?" "I don't know," Vlock answered. "Send another scan." They tried. Every scanner failed. No heat. No engine signature. No crew detected. Vlock frowned. "That's impossible. Something is inside. Something alive." The ship looked wrong. Not alien worse. It looked familiar, but enhanced. Human architecture, but sharper. Aggressive, like it was built. Not for war, but for absolute destruction. Then, something shifted. A single white light blinked on from the ship's core. Just one, no pattern. No sound, just a cold, slow pulse. Blink, blink, blink. It wasn't a distress beacon. It was a warning in the comms room. The Terran message repeated again, unchanged. "This is Terran Command Vessel Dreadnought 1. You called. We came. This zone is now under Terran control. Stand by." But the voice, it sounded off. It wasn't like other AI. It had emotion, not warmth. Not sympathy. It had purpose. Like it was judging. The Sirac War Council met inside the command hall of Talon's Claw. "This is a weapon beyond our understanding," said one elder captain. "We should flee before it turns on us." "We called for help," argued Vlock, "and it helped us." "Did it?" snapped another officer. "Or did it just destroy what was in its way?" Vlock turned to the viewing screen again. The Terran ship still hadn't moved. Still blinking. Still silent. He gave the order, "Try communication." Again. Inside the black ship, something responded. A new signal emerged, not just sound, but visuals. A face appeared on the Sirac screen. Human, but strange. A man. Pale, bald, wearing a suit of black armor. Behind him, the walls were smooth metal with symbols the translation systems couldn't read. His eyes stared directly into the camera, cold, unblinking. "I am Admiral Jameson, commander of Dreadnought 1, he said. "You activated the beacon. Earth is listening again." Vlock replied, voice steady. "We thank you for saving us. We didn't know anyone still monitored the beacon. We didn't even know Terrans still had ships like this." Admiral Jameson didn't blink. "We were watching. We chose not to act. Until now." Silence fell in the Sirac war room. "We believed Earth had withdrawn from galactic affairs," Vlock said slowly. Jameson's lips curled slightly. Not a smile, something colder. "We did not withdraw. We evolved. We waited." Another pulse came from the wormhole behind him. THOOM. A second ship entered. Larger. Darker. And behind it, more shadows. The wormhole wasn't closing. It was opening wider. Vlock's officers panicked. More ships? Is this a second wave? Are we being invaded? Who gave them access? But the screen flashed again. Jameson was still watching. "You sent a call," and Earth answered. "But we don't come as guests. We come to end this war on our terms." The Sirac were paralyzed. They had called for help, but they had not expected judgment. They had not expected humanity to return. Like this. Not as soldiers, but as something. Else. Something worse. Asterisk. 3 more ships came through the wormhole. Each one was bigger than the last. Silent, black, sharp-edged, like knives floating in space. They didn't send messages. They didn't flash lights. They simply arrived and waited, like wolves surrounding their prey. Inside the Sirac flagship Talon's Claw, Commander Vlock stood frozen. His crew didn't know whether to celebrate or flee. This was not a rescue mission. This felt like a return "Get me the human ship again," Brillock ordered. The screen lit up once more. Admiral Jameson appeared, still calm, still watching. Behind him, a wide, dark hallway stretched, with shapes moving, tall soldiers in sleek armor, heads covered in helmets that glowed faint blue. "Admiral Jameson," Brillock said, voice cautious, "your forces have defeated the enemy. We thank you, but what is this?" Jameson didn't blink. "This is reclamation." Reclamation of what? Of fear, of balance, of our place in the stars. The crew exchanged confused looks. Jameson continued. "You Sirak laughed at humanity once, said we were weak, sighed we needed watching. And then, when we disappeared, you all stopped paying attention. But Earth did not fall. Earth became something new. Suddenly, a small probe launched from DREADNAUGHT-1. The Sirak sensors locked onto it. No weapons. No radiation. Just ... data. The probe broadcast. A signal into space. A wideband message in hundreds of languages. A declaration. Then, on the main screen of every ship nearby, Sirak, ally, enemy, one sentence appeared. The Terran ascendancy has returned. And beneath it ... video. Scenes played footage from Earth's hidden years. Human fleets training inside black holes. Troops walking on neutron stars. Biomechs fusing with ships. Humans living inside I-cities, wired into machines, becoming something more. They had not disappeared. They had gone silent ... to become strong. Brillock couldn't look away. His crew stood in silence. Some trembled. This was not the Earth they remembered. This was not the Earth anyone remembered. This was something else. The human admiral spoke again. "We watched the galaxy tear itself apart. We warned you centuries ago what would happen. Now you've called for help, and we have answered." Brillock stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "What are your terms?" Jameson finally smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "We don't want terms. We want obedience." Brillock's blood ran cold. "You ... want us to serve you?" "No," Jameson said, voice like iron. "We want you to survive. And the only way you will is if you listen. We did not come for diplomacy. We came because you asked for salvation. We are your last chance." Behind Jameson, one of the armored Terran soldiers leaned closer. The visor slid open. It wasn't a normal human. Its eyes glowed silver. Its skin looked synthetic. It smiled. But it looked more machine than man. Was it a soldier? Or a warning? "We'll discuss this with the Council," Brillock said, shaken. "No," Jameson replied. "You don't understand. You don't get to discuss anything anymore. This is no longer a war. This is correction." The wormhole flared. Again, more Terran ships arrived. But not battleships, factories, carriers, terraformers. This wasn't just a rescue. This was an occupation. Sirak had called for help, but what they truly did was open the door. And now the old humans were gone. What came through that wormhole was the future, and it terrified everyone. The wormhole remained open. Dozens of Terran ships now circled the Sirak system like silent predators. Each one bore no flags, no emblems, only a single glowing symbol. A broken chain. Inside the Talon's claw, Commander Brillock sat alone in the observation deck, staring into the void. It should have felt like salvation. Instead, it felt like a funeral. The Sirak Council's emergency session began within the hour. Representatives from across the galaxy joined the call, old allies, neutral states, and even former enemies. The first question came quickly. "What have you done?" Brillock stood stiffly. "We activated the beacon." Murmurs exploded across. "The holographic chamber. You called the Terrans? They were never meant to return." You've cursed us all. Ambassador Tertial of the Kval Dominion leaned forward, face pale. The Terrans don't believe in peace. They believe in dominance. They observe. They wait, and when they move ... they never stop. Another ambassador added, I heard rumors ... that their moons are hollow, that their ships grow like living things now. Fairy tales, someone scoffed. Then why are their ships here now, and not yours? The ambassador snapped back. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Terran vessels began deploying, small black drones across the system. They weren't armed. They weren't attacking. They were mapping. Each drone hummed softly as it scanned every Sirac station, ship, and satellite. A quiet invasion, and the humans never asked for permission. Inside the Talon's claw, Officer Keln spoke nervously. They're rewriting our defense codes. Our satellites aren't responding to our orders. They're being overwritten? Vrilok asked. Keln nodded. Yes, sir, bit by bit. Across the galaxy, fear spread like fire. Worlds began preparing evacuations. Alliances shifted. Even some Sirac admirals fled the sector hoping to escape what they believed was the next Terran crusade. And then came the message. Short, clear, final. To all sentient species, the beacon was activated. We have returned. Do not resist. Observe the correction. Earth has awakened. Vrilok gathered his senior officers. What are they correcting? One asked. No one answered. Because deep down, they already knew. The galaxy had grown used to chaos wars, power games, empire rises and collapses. But Earth had disappeared from that mess. They had turned inward, and now they had returned not as warriors, but as engineers of order. Suddenly, the viewing screen inside Talon's claw changed. A live feed showed an outer Sirac colony. Drones were landing, but not to conquer. They were rebuilding, fixing roads, repairing com towers, replacing broken water systems with glowing Terran machines. Children watched, wide-eyed, as a floating orb made a shattered school whole again. It's not destruction, said Officer Keln. Frylock's voice was low. No, it's control. He understood now. They weren't here to burn the galaxy. They were here to reshape it. But fear, still, remained, because what comes after fear is never peace. It is dependence. And once you depend on someone stronger, you are no longer free. Asterisk. The Galactic Alliance was breaking apart, then fast. Within days of the Terran arrival, old friendships started falling like dying stars. Planets, once united in fear of the enemy, now argued in secret calls, private back channels, and encrypted transmissions. No one wanted to say it aloud, but they all knew the truth. Earth was the new threat. Ambassador Tertial of the Kval Dominion called an emergency shadow meeting. Only trusted leaders were invited. Commander Vrilok appeared as a hologram, silent at first. We are being reshaped, Tertial said sharply. Not invaded, not destroyed, but changed. They fixed our broken cities, said a Jernali leader. Gave food to starving moons, medical pods to plague colonies. Isn't that what we always begged for? They didn't ask permission. Tertial snapped. They gave it like a god offers lightning, because they know we cannot say no. In the background of the meeting, news footage played. Terran ships deploying hospitals that healed wounds in seconds. AI translators teaching primitive worlds faster than any university. Terraforming drones, creating rain over deserts. But also, defense networks reprogrammed to follow Terran logic. Governments slowly adapting Terran suggested protocols. Entire colonies now depending on Terran supply ships to function. It's happening quietly, Vrilok finally spoke. No weapons, no war, but we are surrendering. The room went silent, and then someone asked, are they even human anymore? Meanwhile, far from the debate chambers, in deep orbit, Admiral Jameson stood aboard Dreadnought 1, watching. A map of the entire sector. Lines were moving. Fleets were shifting. He turned to his ship AI, codename Virgo. Report. Several allied factions have begun to resist Terran stabilization efforts, Virgo replied. Low-level rebellion activity detected. Expected, Jameson said. Prepare Observation Fleet 4, non-lethal override. Non-lethal? Virgo asked. They may not listen. Then we show them. What happens when they don't? Back on Sirac Prime, Rilok received another encrypted call. A secret message from the Valtari, a rogue tech guild. Commander, the hooded figure said, we can shut down their signal chains. Just for a moment. Just long enough to block their control. Rilok paused. Why tell me this? Because you still lead, the voice replied. But if you wait too long, you'll be leading shadows. Across the stars, minor skirmishes broke out. A mining station refused to update to Terran software. Its reactor mysteriously shut down the next day. Freighter ignored a Terran refueling procedure. It drifted into a black hole corridor unwarned. Unrescued. No war. Just silence. Just reminders. And still, the wormhole stayed open. More Terran ships arrived every hour. But now, they weren't black and sharp. They were white. Smooth, clean. Ships for education. Culture. Law. It wasn't just a fleet. Anymore. It was becoming a government. And those who disagreed. They began to disappear. One by one. Leaders, rebels, dissenters. No blood. No bombs. Just silence. Like they had never been there. Rilok stood at the edge of the Sirac High Tower, looking at the stars. A child approached, holding a Terran learning tablet. Commander, she asked, will humans teach us forever? He didn't answer, because deep down. He feared the truth. They weren't teaching. They were rewriting. A new voice spoke across the stars. It didn't come from a Terran warship. It didn't use official frequencies. It didn't even ask. It told. This is the Terran ascendancy. Peace is not a choice. Peace is now the law. Every world friend or foe heard it. Every station. Every capital. Every ship. And then, the message repeated in all known languages. Over and over. Until no one could pretend it hadn't been heard. Commander Rilok watched from the bridge of Talon's Claw as his communication officers stared at their screens, pale and silent. They've overridden our systems, one whispered. It's not a broadcast, it's a command. Another officer pointed to the ship's control board. All our nav routes are now locked. Locked to what? Rilok asked. The officer swallowed. To Earth. Hours later, a single Terran diplomat ship, small, silver, unarmed, landed. On Sirac Prime, out stepped a woman in a white suit. Her eyes glowed faintly. She smiled, but the smile never reached her eyes. I am Envoy Mirren of the Ascendancy, she said calmly. I've come to deliver terms. Rilok met her in the great dome. Hundreds watched. You came to help us, he said, barely holding back his anger. Now you dictate to us? Mirren tilted her head. We offered stability. We brought healing. We brought protection. Under your flag. Rilok snapped. No, she corrected gently. Under our structure. She opened a small device. A hologram filled the air. Dozens of planets. Hundreds of outposts. All now labeled in green. Stabilized by Terra. This is not conquest, Commander, she continued. This is organization. Then she pressed a button. The map shifted, showing red zones. Areas refusing Terran protocols. Zones where famine returned. Wars restarted. Pirates thrived. Chaos breeds where Earth does not touch, she said. Rilok stayed silent. He knew the message. He just hated hearing it out loud. Here, "Are your choices?" she said finally. Her tone never changed. She didn't threaten. She didn't shout. But everyone in the dome leaned forward. 1. You integrate. Your fleets remain. Your people stay free, but they live by Terran standard. Trade flows. Peace continues. 2. You isolate. We leave you alone. No help, no protection. No trade, and no second signal will be answered. 3. She paused. The room tensed. 3. You resist, and resistance brings silence. Vrylok's mouth was dry. And if we choose silence? He asked. Mirren looked at him with eyes that almost felt ancient. Then Earth no longer hears you, and neither will anyone else. Across the galaxy, similar envoys delivered the same ultimatum. Some leaders wept and signed. Some shouted and walked away. Some drew weapons only to vanish by morning. But everywhere. The wormhole stayed open. Still pulsing, still glowing, still ready to send more. Admiral Jameson stood once again at the helm of Dreadnought 1, watching it all unfold. Status? He asked the AI. Resistance has dropped by 43%, Virgo replied. Terms accepted across 219 systems. 4 remained undecided. Jameson nodded. We'll give them time, he said. Why? The A asked. Because soon they'll have none left. Below, on 1,000 worlds, the people looked up at the stars. And they didn't wonder what was out there anymore. They knew. Earth was out there. And Earth was watching. Asterisk. The wormhole finally closed. No explosion. No sound. Just a slow dimming like the eye of a storm, blinking shut after passing through. But the Terrans stayed. Their ships now circled every major planet. Their satellites hummed in every system. Their name was whispered in every shadowed hallway of every council. The message had been sent. The rules were clear. Earth was not returning to negotiate. Earth had returned to lead. On Sirik Prime, the new city core was complete. Tall white towers rose beside old stone ones. Clean energy flowed from Terran fusion wells. Crime vanished, not from policing, but from prediction algorithms that knew where danger would start. Before it began. At the top of one tower, Commander Vrylok stood with his hands behind his back. Wasn't in uniform anymore. He was in a Terran diplomatic robe. Envoy Mirren joined him quietly, her steps soft. They are adapting, she said. They are obeying, he replied, a bit sharper than he intended. Mirren smiled politely. Obedience is the first step to peace. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked toward the children below Sirak and human learning in the same school. No war training. No conquest lessons. They were learning logic, empathy, code, and how to speak in Earth standard. Is this what you wanted? He finally asked. To build a quiet empire? Mirren shook her head slowly. No, she said. We don't build empires. She looked to the sky. We build ecosystems. Far above, aboard Dreadnought 1, Admiral Jameson stood in silence. Last red marker on the galactic map had turned green. Even the most stubborn worlds had given in not through battle, but through necessity. Earth hadn't destroyed the galaxy. Earth had made itself necessary to survive. On the outer rim, some groups still resisted. One last pirate king sent a warning broadcast across the stars. You can't program freedom. You can't patent peace. The next day, his ship was found floating near a Terran listening station. Crew unharmed. Systems restored. A small package was left on the bridge. Inside was a tablet. One sentence glowed on the screen. Peace isn't a product. It's a system update. Back on Sirak Prime, children played with floating Terran drones. Vrylok's granddaughter ran to him, holding a small glass cube. Look what I built, grandfather. A weather control drone. Earth School gave me the code. He looked at her. Eyes, bright. Curious Dot, and filled with something he hadn't seen in generations. Hope. Maybe this wasn't control. Maybe this wasn't a leash. Maybe this was something else entirely. A foundation, a new era, a new order. Later that evening, a final message was sent from Earth. The beacon is deactivated. The wormhole sleeps again. But we are awake now. We will not forget the silence. And we will not allow it again. Galactic leaders gathered in the new Concord Tower built with Terran alloy, designed by both human and alien architects. No one sat on a throne. There were no flags, only a round table and one unspoken rule. Earth watches, Earth waits, and Earth protects. The galaxy did not fall. The galaxy did not burn. It was simply ... rewritten, not by force, but by the return of something ancient, something disciplined, something dangerous, something necessary. Humanity ... asterisk.